All right, welcome to the show, y'all. I wish that for once, when I was doing a show, it wasn't like end of the Republic type stuff, but that's where we are. It's that ugly, and my job is to just deliver the news to you. So we got a lot of stuff to get to today. In just a second, we had 4 mass shootings. 4 in a time span of about 24 hours. Very normal. Very normal. Very healthy country we're talking about. So I'll dive into that in just a second. We also have Trump criminalizing free speech in perhaps the most brazen way he's tried to yet. He's going after anybody and everybody who has opinions that are considered anti-American, anti-capitalist, and anti-Christian, among other things. So I'll break all that down for you. We have some great reporting from Ken Klippenstein on that. We also have Trump posting his most psychotic conspiracy yet. He went full QAnon with this medbed conspiracy. So there's a lot to say about that one. And then later on, we have the I've Had It podcast crushed a Democrat for selling out to AIPAC. Just kept coming back to that and hammering and hammering. That's an amazing clip. I can't wait for you guys to see that. And then also, Mark Maron is taking on seemingly the entire Rogan sphere because he's calling out directly the Saudi Arabia sellout comics, which is something that I love to see because I was pulling my hair out watching all these comedians selling out in the most obvious way, and nobody else was talking about it, but in comes Mark Maron to save the day, so we have that as well, and much more. You guys know the drill. Everybody, please do me a big favor and subscribe to the channel. That helps out big time and costs you nothing at all. If you're so inclined, you could also support the show on Patreon. Remember, y'all, this is real independent media. I've never had a conversation with an advertiser. I've never done an ad read. I've never talked to a billionaire or a PAC or a government or anything like that. You guys keep this show exactly as it is, funded by the grassroots, and I'm deeply appreciative of that. So the Patreon link is below. You can also support Crystal, Kyle, and Friends on Substack. That link is below as well. We had Chris Hedges, on last week, and it was an amazing podcast. He goes deep onto the rise of fascism in the U.S. And then also go sub to the Corn's World YouTube channel because we do live Kyle and Corn episodes there. We do them every Monday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time, so you can come hang out with us there tonight if you'd like. We answer Substack questions and we shoot the shit. Again, that's the Corn's World YouTube channel. All right, guys, so without any further ado, let's go ahead and jump into it. Here we go. Yesterday, we had about 4 mass shootings in a 24-hour time span. It was absolutely incredible, and unfortunately, this is one of those things where, in this country, is anybody really that surprised? Like, of course it's jarring and it's shocking, but at the same time, you're so used to seeing these things that it's almost like well, what do you expect? That's what we do here in this psychotic country. So I want to give you some of the specifics here, and we'll break it down for you. So let's start with this. One of the shootings happened at a Mormon church, or as they call it, a Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. That's another way of saying Mormon. And you had this pickup truck crash into the church, then, put a bunch of fuel everywhere, light a fire. So this was basically arson and burned down the church, and also started lighting people up with his gun after asking, hey, what are your beliefs? Do you believe in Joseph Smith or do you believe in Jesus? So it appears like what we're looking at here is a Christian terror attack against Mormons who this guy had some bone to pick with, or this guy thought they were, infidels of a sort, right? And he went to work and killed a number of them. So first, let me show you this. At the church in Grand Blanc, Michigan, shows the suspect's truck with an Iraqi conflict veteran license plate. So here we go. This is the Mormon church that he crashed into. He's got the 2 American flags in the back. And the point here is that this particular kind of license plate is an Iraq conflict veteran license plate. So, okay, there's one clue as to this guy's background and potential motive and descriptors here. Let me give you some more. So the police identified this guy as 40-year-old Thomas Sanford. This right here is Thomas Sanford. I guess this was when he was hunting. They cropped the buck out of the picture here. But this is the guy that did the arson and did the mass shooting. Now, my understanding is that as of right now, as of this moment that I'm talking to you, I believe the death toll is 4. But there were 8 wounded, so that number may go up. So this is the guy who did it. Let me give you some more here. Iraq war veteran Thomas Sanford ID'd as gunman who attacked Grand Blanc LDS Church, killing 2 and setting it ablaze again. This was older, but there's some more pictures here that I can show you. So here we have, again, him hunting holding some sort of bird, pheasant or some shit. And then we have, here's the picture of him when he was in the military, obviously much younger. He looks significantly different now with his full beard after having gained weight. Clearly, he aged quite a bit. But Iraq war veteran is what we're talking about. And what you're going to see here is there's a trend in a lot of these shooters, at least the ones that happened over the last 24 hours. And the trend is a lot of them were either Iraq veterans or Afghanistan war veterans. And a lot of them had injuries, traumatic brain injury. And this is something that a lot of experts have been sort of warning us for a while now, over the past like 2 or 3 decades, that there's this correlation between, you know, physical damage done to the brain and a tendency to violence and a tendency to impulsiveness. So that's why you see a lot of these people with CTE. They might act very bizarrely. They might commit crimes. They might be violent. I mean, there's a number of people like that from the NFL, for example, who unfortunately in the wake of leaving the NFL have, or even when they were in the NFL, had very, you know, erratic moments. Well, you know, researchers think that there's something to this idea. And I've told you guys, I watched a documentary where a mass shooter left a note saying, hey, do me a favor and look at my brain after I die. And this guy went on a mass shooting spree and then killed himself. And he purposely didn't shoot himself in the brain because he wanted his brain to be studied. And come to find out, he had extreme CTE. And so there was a lot of physical damage to the brain, and for whatever reason, that appears to make people more prone to violence and prone to criminality. Now, let me show you some more. There's a new photo that emerged of Thomas Jacob Sanford, the guy who did the shooting. He was on Facebook, and he was wearing a Make Liberals Cry Trump shirt. He burned down the Mormon church and killed 4 people. So here, I'll zoom in here for you, but as you can see, they blanked out the face of the child and the wife. I do know that the wife is also a Trump supporter, but here you have, if you look closely at his shirt, it says "Make Liberals Cry Again" at the bottom of the the thing in the middle there. And so here, somebody pulled up the actual shirt itself. This is the part that's in the middle. He had a camo version of the shirt, but this is the part that's in the middle. "Make Liberals Cry Again." And people were saying at one point that, oh, here's a Google image street view of his house, and you can see that there's a Trump yard sign or something on his fence, but that was contested because some people were saying, no, that's actually his neighbors, and other people were saying, if you look underneath the thing that says Trump, it's this thing, it's a stop sign, so people are saying, oh, that means stop Trump, right? So actually they're a lefty. I mean, they're trying so hard. The right tries so hard, and they work overtime in every one of these instances to try to say it's somebody on the left. And in this instance, they are coming up massively empty-handed because all the information that keeps coming out says the opposite. Now, I will say, though, again, my guess is more that this has to do with getting some sort of traumatic brain injury or extreme PTSD when in Iraq, which ultimately, look, the takeaway is still the same. Right-wing policies are absolute dog shit. Right-wing policies ruin lives. It was George W. Bush and Dick Cheney and the Republicans that sent people into the war in Iraq and the war in Afghanistan. And how many fucking lives were ruined? Not just of U.S. soldiers, but also of innocent people in Iraq and Afghanistan. How many people were displaced? How many people were killed? How many people were tortured? How many veterans are not getting the care that they desperately need? Right? And so, but what we're looking at here is a guy, he's a Christian Trump supporter who shot up and burned down a Mormon church because he thought Mormons were evil or something. So, somebody made a great point on Twitter. They said, I don't think that the 4 people who were killed by this guy are going to be hailed as martyrs by the right, because it turns out that apparently if they can't make a stretch of a case that the shooter is a leftist, they'll move on from this very quickly. Right? They'll run their interference and they'll try to muck up some bullshit reasons why this person is a leftist, and then that'll fail, but then they'll move on to the next thing and nobody will ever bring this up again. So, really incredible stuff. Now, this was just one of the shootings, guys. Now let me give you some more. Another shooting happened in North Carolina. What this guy did is he got on a boat. He was out on the water, and he shot up this North Carolina seafood restaurant, American Fish Company in Southport. And he was on the boat, and he killed at least 3 people. I think he wounded more than that. And this is the guy who did it. So he had changed his name. His name was something else, but he changed his name to Nigel Max Edge. And this guy literally has a history of massive brain injury. I believe it might have even been a friendly fire incident that he got shot in the head. And so you can see he's holding up a skull here, showing what like his own skull looks like. And they did surgery and they helped him out. But clearly, this shooting really left some long-term damage and made it so that this guy, I believe he was diagnosed as schizophrenic. So as Malcolm Nance says here, this is one of the times we need to recognize PTSD and veterans' mental health is a thing we should be massively funding, not cutting. Reading the shooter's Facebook is like watching a million little flashing warning signs. So yeah, he was going deep into the rabbit hole, man. Now, by the way, I should also point out, it was Elon Musk and it was Donald Trump that cut the VA by, I believe, 83,000 jobs. Now, I believe they recently reversed it and said, oh, we're only going to fire 30,000, or we're going to keep 30,000 of the original 83,000 we fired. And people are fucking giving them credit for this. Like, how about you don't do any mass firings and you hire more people, because clearly that's what's needed. But no. So massively cutting VA healthcare, they don't give a fuck. And then now we have instances of these people going on mass shooting sprees. So as I said, the guy's schizophrenic. He had all these mental health issues and is directly tied to the traumatic brain injury and the PTSD that he experienced. All right. This also was tweeted the other day. 3 active shooter incidents in the U.S. in 14 hours at a North Carolina restaurant, a Texas casino, and a Michigan church. Holy shit. Now, since this was posted, there was another mass shooting in Pennsylvania. Now, technically, I don't think it reaches mass shooting status, at least not yet, because only one person is dead. But if more of them die, it will reach mass shooting status. So it's just one after the other after the other. So just if you're keeping score, we have the Mormon church shooting in Michigan. Again, that's at least 4 dead and 8 wounded. We have the Southport waterfront bar shooting. That's the one that we just talked about. The gunman is Nigel Max Edge, fired from a boat into a crowd of people in a popular restaurant. Then we also had the Kickapoo Lucky Eagle casino shooting, where at least 2 were killed and 5 were injured. It was a late-night shooting at a casino near the U.S.-Mexico border. Guys, this is just 24 hours in the United States of America. 24 hours in the United States of America. You think we have a problem? And perhaps the most upsetting part of all of this is that we all know they're not going to do shit about it. Trump's not going to be tweeting shit. They're not going to propose any legislation. You know how their dodge is, don't talk about the guns, but we can talk about mental health. Okay, well, they won't even do that, as you'll see. It'll be either radio silence or a handful of people giving you a sprinkle of thoughts and prayers, and then they'll move right on. That's exactly what it is, and that's exactly what it will continue to be. And so, look, it's a broken country. I don't know what to tell you. As soon as, when Sandy Hook happened, and then the Republicans blocked any fucking movement to try to do any sort of gun reform, I knew at that moment, oh, we're cooked. If all these children getting murdered in cold blood by a psychopath doesn't move you to do something about the shit, then nothing's ever going to be done. Now, to be fair to Joe Biden, he did get something passed, but it was very, very mild in terms of gun reform, which is why, you're still seeing instances of 4 mass shootings in one day. So are they ever going to do anything that actually tackles the problem in a serious way? I don't think so. I mean, again, if this was any other country, I know we've talked about it on the show, but there was a mass shooting in Australia. I believe it was in 1996. Then they said, okay, massive gun buyback program. They haven't had a mass shooting since, right? In Japan, they have very, very strict gun laws. They have basically no gun deaths. In the U.S., we have about 40,000 gun deaths every single year. In Japan, they have like 10 or fewer. Why? Because they were like, okay, no guns. How about that? Right? Now, I understand we got the Second Amendment. It's a little more complicated here. It's a little different here. I get that. Everybody gets that. However, when you look at the polling on the basic reforms that everybody talks about, like universal background checks and red flag laws and a ban on high-capacity magazine and a ban on assault weapons and some licensing and testing shit, when you poll that, everybody's like, oh, of course we want that. Why? Because then you'd have, instead of 40,000 gun deaths a year, maybe you get it all the way down to 2,000 or 5,000 or something like that, which is still horrible. But, math is math, and that's a lot lower than 40,000, right? So, but this is where we are, man. This is where we are now. Also, same time, here we go, one more. A 42-year-old Texas man is facing federal charges after threatening to shoot up the Abilene Pride Parade as revenge for the recent assassination of right-wing activist Charlie Kirk. Fuck their parade. I say we lock and load and pay them back for taking out Charlie Kirk. Come on, bro. Let's go hunting fairies. This is the sort of stuff that we deal with. So this is the guy right here, threatening to shoot up a pride parade because they took out Charlie Kirk. That's insane. That is mental. You're going to blame every person who's LGBTQ for the actions of one person who, by the way, is from a MAGA Mormon family? You have got to be, and by the way, let's be clear, they're not going to be able to convict this dude. They are not going to be able to convict Tyler Robinson. That case is fallen apart faster than any case I've ever seen. But this is the reaction from a lot of people, so not good, man. Really, really not good. 4 mass shootings in a 24-hour time span. A serious question for everybody out there who's American. How do you think the rest of the world looks at us in a scenario where we have 4 mass shootings and the leaders won't address it? They won't propose any solutions. It'll be swept under the rug. We'll move right the fuck on. How does the rest of the world look at us? They look at us like we're complete idiots, which we are, but also total fucking psychopaths. Total dead-eyed psychopaths who basically, we don't have a community in the U.S. anymore, right? There is no community. The concept of like, oh, we're all Americans. Please, are you kidding me? People are fucking at each other's throats over political differences, over other differences too, right? There is no community. There is no togetherness. And so, you know, the rest of the world looks at us like a bunch of fucking, you know, psychotic, anxiety-ridden cowboys who are trigger happy and like, you know, kind of fair. Kind of fair. We're not in the business of solving problems anymore. The government has basically given up on solving problems. The government, you know, it's basically like this massive grift economy. Everybody's scamming everybody. Everybody's a greedy little prick. Everybody's in it for themselves. There's genuinely no concern for like the commons, for the public. You know, nobody's talking about, hey, let's do this ambitious project to give everybody health care, you know, give everybody paid vacation time or whatever it may be. That's totally and utterly out the window. You know, what we're looking at now is let's start 3 more wars. Let's open another fucking torture facility and concentration camp. Let's start another trade war with another country and raise prices by double digits yet again. Like, this is what the country's working on, and Trump's doing this pay-to-play bullshit. Hey, you pay me $1 million or whatever it is, and I'll make sure to pardon whoever you want me to pardon. Like, the whole thing is it's a scam. The whole country's a scam, and we're falling apart at the seams. We're imploding, and it's never been more obvious. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.